Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. We must share some bad news, which is probably obvious by now. Valerie cannot join the panel for reasons way beyond her control, so we will have to manage. But we wish her to get better very quickly. We have with us Andrés Colmenares.
Colmenares, yeah.
Yes, so Wawawiwa Comics. And we had pleasure to talk yesterday with Luis from Prisijunkite. And so today's topic, it had a title, which is Minimalist Character Design with Maximum Expression, which I thought was interesting, but of course it's just a starting point. The question of what is minimalism in that context, I would like to start with a question a bit about the process to both of you, because minimalism, in my understanding, would be trying to the famous less is more, the maximum impact with the minimum elements. But we can also think, I'm thinking, for example, if you're familiar with the musician Vangelis, he had a subtractive approach. That means removing elements. So for him, he would throw everything that is out there, for example, the music, like all the instruments, and the way of composing it's starting to remove, so subtractive, removing elements, until there is a point where you just cannot touch it anymore. So how do you feel? I can start with you. Do you start with something more maximalist, I would say, or more, maybe more rich in terms of content, and then you extract it, or the other way?
Yeah, I have, I sort of do like a mental map or something. Like I select an object or an animal or whatever I want to do, like the subject. And then I just start thinking around it, like a bunch of ideas. Like it could be like 50 ideas around it until I get one that I like, and then I start working more on it. But what you mentioned is like really interesting, because it is like most of the time people don't notice, like when something's simple, they think it's easier, Like, I don't remember who said this, but it was like, he was like delivering an essay to someone, and it was really long. And he said, oh, here's the essay. I really didn't have time to make it shorter, So it's like, it's more work when you need to make things more simple.
I never actually thought about that, but now that you've asked, I was thinking that when drawing, I directly go for simple shapes, and then when I get the simplicity I want, as simple as it can get, it actually gets complicated. I put it complicated inside those shapes. I start by simplicity, but then I add a lot of elements inside that simplicity.
So minimalism in that sense is a bit like a misnomer, because the idea is as, for example, a shape, like you said, and then you dive in, and then it's going to be 7 days of feeling that shape.
Actually very anarchic too, inside.
Okay, so no order, no time.
You're just exploring the feeling through that anarchy of emotions, so that you get nuances inside that shape.
And as we discussed on Friday, once it's done, the final line is actually within 10 minutes, done. So very swift closure. And for you, so the process is more like taking a lot of time to be able to formulate as clearly as possible the idea. And then, do you feel that it's a minimalist process, or are you even agreeing with that word, or is it just like clarity?
I guess my process is more complicated in the thinking stage, and then once I have the idea already, it's just like an hour and a half or something, or less. But I try to focus more on the concept and the ideas behind the drawing.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like the opposite, right?
Yeah, we're the opposite, because I have no concept and no idea. I draw, and then when the drawing of a character is made, then is when I hope to have some ideas for that character.
Yeah.
That's another point that I noticed that is an interesting contrast. we could argue that you work almost in character design. You think, for example, the Rubik's Cube I was thinking about. You think about an object or something, whether it's an animal, an object, and then what is this object bringing me? And so in one of his comics, the Rubik's Cube is swirling with his kid, I guess like a baby Rubik's Cube, but it cannot stop spinning because the middle part just starts following with a kinetic. And so that's very much in sort of visual pun on what a Rubik's Cube is that couldn't work with another object. Or the pasta. You start having this pasta and you think, oh, that could be a caterpillar pasta, and then this is like the life cycle of a pasta. And I think this is where, again, you start from a very different thought process where you had, like you said, the opposite, where it's, I don't know how it starts, I don't know how it goes, I don't know how it ends. How do you, then when is the moment for you where you let go, where you would just be like, oh, I'm in a process, I don't need to think anymore?
Do you mean like when do I know that the idea is ready? Like,
is there a moment where you can switch off and then move to execution and really not steer from that idea?
As long as I like it, if it makes me like giggle or it makes me feel something, I'll just start working on it, you know, because I used to, when I was beginning, I used to think a lot, like, are people going to like this? But then with time I was like, oh, okay, if I like it, there's going to be people that like it as well, you know? I mean, there's always people that have your similar tastes, so. You know.
So if it's funny for you, surely
funny
someone will find it funny too.
If it makes me feel something,
yes.
I'll just work on it.
Can I make a question? Don't you also think that as you've been doing this for some years now, that at some point inside of you, you know that your idea, you already know more or less how to communicate it with people. Yeah, you're not so unsure of that part, the people part, I mean, the others.
So almost like more confident that people will understand the idea.
Yes, because you have crafted that communications inside you.
Yeah, because one of the doubts I used to have a lot was like, are people even going to understand this? So it was really complicated at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, it comes like naturally. It's like, it's nothing like you can, it's not something you can touch. Like what we were talking about yesterday, you know, that, about the process thing. And it actually looks kind of creepy. I'm just like looking at an object. But I'm not thinking, I'm just like, oh, here's a bottle. I want to do a comic with this bottle. I'll just stare at it, you know? It's like, but like the process, I don't think about the process. I just like, I already have it in my mind. Like it's experience, I guess, because I used to struggle a lot and now it's easier.
You have a thought process of, it's almost like creative advertising when you really study the object and think there is as much about form, but also about purpose in the object that you will then give a sort of funny twist to.
Yeah, I usually grab something, like a particular thing from that object, like whether it's like speed or size, shape or color, and then I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to connect this with something else that has like, if it's fast, I'll connect it with something else that's fast or slow, and I start like doing like in my mind, it just, I don't know, it's a little bit hard to explain, but yeah.
Famously, you had the planets, for example, and they are not just comics about planets, but they're always usually, pun intended, a spin on how planets operate with each other, like rotation, orbits, influence. I'm not sure which one of you had the comic about the moon, saying if you don't want the moon to influence you, just stop drinking any water.
No, maybe it's Valerie?
Maybe, it's Valerie. I'm sorry. But I thought that was a very smart idea where that makes like a whimsical idea, but actually very smart, yes. Then the moon will not influence you. You're just without any water.
But I actually admire what you were saying, the process you do. Because if I draw something first without an idea, then I'm like blocked completely. Like, where do I go now? Like,
I am the opposite. Yesterday I was trying to understand his brain. I was like, I don't know how that works. And I still don't.
And you're both, we were talking about denomination on Friday. You're both kind of lumped here as comic artists, but you see how the process, the beginning, the middle, the end is completely different. And having seen your original work, by the way, which is extremely beautiful, there's this line, very, very, very deliberate, slow process of line mark making. These are not comics, in a way. These are one image, then one image, one image. You're more of an illustrator. And because it happens that sometimes you put them together, it makes a comic.
Yes. Yes, I know that I started making comics in a way that is not supposed to be.
Not following rules.
But it just happened that way. And it was not even me, I said it yesterday on the other talk. It was a little girl that followed my work on Instagram that did the first comic by joining and putting them a few cats talking with each other, that I saw that, I can do this, thank you.
Someone else made it.
Yeah.
They just want your cat to start like...
Though I always liked comics, and I even studied in a comic school for a while at my weekends after work. I always thought I wouldn't ever be able to do comics because just my natural thing when I go to draw is to say hours and hours, and I said, nah, I'm too slow to make comics, I will never make. But somehow it happened.
If each panel lasts 1 week, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, thinking about that, you have full stories, right, already published as a comic.
4 books.
Because I remember that Valerie has entire stories inside, with a narrative, not just 4-panel comics.
Oh, you mean 4-panel comics? Is that what you say?
You have written also stories.
Oh, like graphic novels, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I wrote Peculiar Woods. It only has 2 volumes. It's a longer story than what I usually do, and I'm currently writing about the planets, another graphic novel. So it's just those 2 for now. I was actually doing those as pitch for like TV shows to like different executives, and they were like, "Oh, okay, we like the idea. We would love to see your next one." And I was like, "Okay." So I started pitching that idea to my publishers, and they liked it, and they became graphic novels.
So how different is the process? Because that's probably very, very different mindset to make an entire story.
For me, it's super complicated. It was like, it took me like a year just to like illustrate the whole one book, and like 6 months to write the entire thing. But I mean, it's like a completely different vision. It's like almost writing a movie, because I wrote the entire script as a script, like not with drawings or anything. I wrote the script, and then it became like sketches, and then lines, and then the coloring, and then it was a super complicated process that I didn't know I was getting into, really.
And do you feel you lost your simplicity in the process?
No, not really. Once I finished, it was like a break, and then I continued doing comics. So it was like a nice break.
And you said you didn't have yet a clear plan or anything for a longer story, but...
No, I'm focused on what I'm doing right now. I do have the feeling that in a near future I will be trying to do something different, but I need to find that space. That space isn't already here.
Yes. Thank you. I wanted to move to colors. And again, it's very sad that Valerie isn't here.
Yeah.
But you're both using, I would say, rather bright colors. But I'm thinking more about color coding. For example, relationship between one color to the next. They are rarely... Are they intuitive for both of you? Or do you follow some sort of formula that you have learned and think, oh, this works well, or just in terms of color theory? And you're going to mute one and you're going to saturate one more or something. So can you tell us how you choose?
I've read color theory many years ago and I forgot about it. The truth is that I just prefer to explore, to paint and explore and see how it combines, to see if it goes to the feelings that I want to have in a specific comic or for a specific message. Sometimes I also go in a different way, which is, okay, I have a cat, now let's put color around and let's see what happens with those colors, and let's explore it more in like an abstract way. Like if you were making an abstract painting. And in the end, when everything kind of makes sense and makes me feel something good or takes me to a place of peace or any other thing, and I say, okay, let's leave it here, then words can come that match the color and the cat. So, but sometimes I already have the words and I have to find the colors that go with that words. But it's a process of constant experimentation, not rational.
So it would be shape, then cat, then color.
Or not.
Or not.
It's anarchy.
And that's how you thrive.
Sometimes.
And for you?
I just copy the colors because I used to do illustrations for T-shirts. So I had like this huge catalog of colors of T-shirts. And that's how I actually started design. Okay, I want this one to be blue, but I've like lately I've been expanding more to like just making up like the colors, whatever it is. Because I used to make all the illustrations and they were supposed to fit with that color of the T-shirt, or if I had one in mind. But then it was like, yeah, I'll start expanding a little bit more. But I would pretty much just copy the code that I already have, and then I make the comic based on that background color. And yeah, that's my thing.
So it's interesting that you mentioned working for T-shirt, because when we do illustration, we always need to keep in mind what's the final, like where it is going to show up. And having T-shirt means, for example, for people working with bands, they need to know that, okay, we need very clear, bold, like flat, no gradients in general, nothing a bit too scribbly or too messy. I remember reading the interview from the original illustrator from Iron Maiden record cover, and he said, you have to remember when you're making, back then, of course, it was the 80s, when you illustrate for a record cover, you're actually illustrating for a T-shirt. And he says that I'm drawing, thinking this will be slapped on a T-shirt, and if it's too messy, the T-shirt will not sell, the band will not sell enough, and then they're not going to be happy about it. So that's like a parenthesis, but I think it's interesting to bring this thought process that, okay, T-shirt means, or when you see T-shirt nowadays, it's like tote bag also very, very commonly. Like bold design, okay, can it work on Instagram, which it does in general, to have bold colors and a nice, very curated feed with like, okay, there's some blue pastel, some green pastel, some pink. Do you have a, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to steal this question from you, but
Please.
Have you tried, like, do you always use just like, what is that, like Chinese ink? Like with just pens? And is it always black? Have you tried other colors?
The cats, it's impossible to do it on colors because there are no pens that will get that
Brown.
feeling in color. I use fine liners, very small fine liners, and also I use the damage of the tip of those fine liners so I can get even more fine lines and play with tips that are destroyed already, so that I can get
like a brush
that I wouldn't get with normal pens. So I have hundreds of pens in front of me, and I go, oh, let me see, how is this one now? And yeah, that's how I work.
That's very Japanese of you, I think. Just the object broke in half, no problem, I continue. And like you said, now you have a cat that you would have never had without a broken nib.
Yes. And
so you had to...
That is impossible to replicate in digital.
You had to buy a black cat later because of the comics?
Sorry?
Is it black, the cat?
My cat, my real cat, yes.
It had to match the comics.
No, actually, the cat appeared on my life. I didn't search for the cat. He showed up at my mother's house. It happened to be black, but if it was another color, I would still give him her.
It's a cool coincidence.
It was just synchronic, I don't know. Made sense. Yeah, it's black, makes sense.
Thinking again, one thought for Valerie, but I wanted to ask about any sort of Japanese influence in your work, because Japanese culture, which I have some my own family like background, but in general there is a sort of paradox between what is brought or sold as minimalist or Zen or and then an actual very maximalistic approach. Because if you go to shops, yes, they will have one cute, finely designed object, but then they will have 700 million variation of this one cute, simple object. Do you feel this, or have you been to Japan, for example?
No.
Or
no,
are you familiar
never.
with this Japanese, just even here going to Artist Alley, there's a culture of enormous amount of very small things, for example.
Well, actually, now that you mentioned, like I started doing like this kawaii style, right? And that's like Japanese, I think.
It's another word for cute, right?
Yeah,
Cute, yeah.
it's a word for cute, but it has like its own style. So that's how I started mixing that with my own style, and because I didn't used to draw that way, like with huge heads and like really adorable characters. So I got that thing, and I was like, okay, I want to do something similar to this. And then I saw a documentary about kids, about babies, and it was like they were talking about why babies are so cute, and like they had like huge foreheads and like their eyes and all that stuff, and so people could love them. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here, and I'm gonna make people like the comics because they're cute. And I started combining a bunch of things, and it became what it is.
And do you feel there is any sort of Japanese peripheral influence?
The Zen culture.
Yeah.
I like the Zen culture, and maybe somehow it mixes with my art, but it's not like I want to make something inspired by Japanese, not consciously, but maybe it is there. You said it is.
I agree. Zen is actually one of the most difficult branches of Buddhism, because it's not like you can feel, oh, today I'm not going to do, or that you just do. And I remember a friend who went 6 months in a monastery, and he was a dancer, and he says, for 6 months, I'm not allowed to dance. What I have to do is to walk perfectly when it's time to walk, and when I have to sit perfectly, by which I mean there is like the stance to sit, and the stance to lie down, and the way to walk. And so it's the way you get lost into one process suddenly. And he says it's so much more difficult because you start dancing in your head. So he said, oh, I was dancing all the time in my head. My body was just exactly where it had to be. So it was extremely difficult, so much more holistic than just, going to pray and then relax or something. There's no relaxation in Zen. It's from within. It's more like a attunement,
Yeah, you have to put yourself completely in that moment with that purpose. You have the only thing in which I can do that is in drawing or painting.
Is there a way, even through the process, you feel that you're not? I'm going to be very clear with. Simple example. When you're sitting, are you like crouching on the table like this? Because then that wouldn't be Zen in that sense. Or do you have a stance for drawing?
It depends where you put your attention. If you are putting your full attention in the drawing only and not in your body, you can be in any position and you can change position. The thing that I'm talking about is that my mind is only on those lines. And my body will adapt to whatever is best for that line. So I can be like this, I can be like this, I can be dancing with a sheet of paper.
So it's a mindful posture.
And my paper, if I record a whole process of drawing, you'll see that if I it is like going like this, the paper.
In fast forward, you mean? Yeah.
Always in circles.
And you work mostly digitally, so you don't get maybe the flipping the paper all the time, unless you, at least in Mirror, probably.
No, you can actually, in Illustrator, you can just like, with your 2 fingers, just turn it around a little bit, like the angle, switch it. But I actually don't use it that much. It's...
digitally, I don't use it too.
Yeah, I just go straight to the digital, from my head to digital.
And going back to minimalism, I was thinking about the dots. So your characters, most of them have dots for eyes, nothing more, nothing less. And it's funny because it became kind of popular. Your eyes are like this gigantic white circle. And there is this, I think by now already internet comic culture has its own sort of archaeology. And you find how those dots became, sometimes the trends was in, sometimes trends went out. Sometimes they moved toward cute. And I don't know if you're familiar with Extra Fabulous Comics.
I've heard of it. I don't remember.
So
right
it's
now.
one of the comics where they push to the extreme because the dots are outside of the character.
I was actually thinking that
Yes.
when you were speaking.
And so
like,
I think this is one who said, you know what, how far can we go? And they're like, one eye is here and the other eye is on the other. And it works. Of course, then the psychological impact is terrible because people are starting to look really weird, which works perfectly for their comic because the comic is weird. And it makes this sort of, kind of uncanny derangement of the scene. How do you get characters to have so much emotion with dots would be kind of... And do you think that there's a sweet spot where the mouth and the eyes feel just right? Or then it's like, weird, cute?
I guess I got a lot of experience by doing portraits of people. I still do them. And it's like, they send me a picture of their dog and like their family. And then if they're laughing, I have to like really try to copy the expressions with just like the two dots, the mouth and a simple nose. But I have like a few ways of, like if a character, they usually don't even have eyebrows. So if like they're really upset, I'll just do like a thick line on top of their eyes, and it just looks like they're really like ready to kill someone. But I mean, it's all experience. Like the more you practice, you'll become like better at understanding how to express those emotions.
So you move from symbolic level, for example, like you say, you just slap an eyebrow into the illustration the same way I was. That's why it kind of brought me to the Japanese coding, because Japanese anime and manga culture kind of brought this full force. We used to have comics in the West, like I'm growing from the 90s. Basically everything that was from French and Belgium history of like explaining things, this is the drawing, and then this is the text. And then the Japanese culture brought this, for example, someone is embarrassed and you get like a huge drop or like 3 dots. So
yeah, the Japanese culture is super crazy, like expressing emotions. Like they have a word for like that feeling you have after you get a haircut, you know? It's like they actually have a word for that. And it's like...
Can you repeat? I didn't hear.
The Japanese, they have a word for that feeling you get after you get a haircut.
Okay.
So
like
I mean,
nuances
they
of
have a bunch
emotion.
of words but for feelings that you don't like really know how to express sometimes. Like, I guess it's like you repent and then like rage and like I don't know. It's like a mix of feelings, but it's easier to just make up a word for that moment, and then you can express your emotions with that word. We don't have that like, extent of like feelings, you know.
I think all languages have their own unique words for unique feelings. That's the beauty of learning new languages, is that you will find new expressions for feelings that you didn't know how to talk about. And when you learn a new language, you suddenly see, oh, so there's a word for this.
You have saudade? Saudade? Or is that from Brazil?
Yeah, that's one of it. Yeah, no, it's Portuguese, and that word comes from the fact that when, Portugal is a small country, and when, like 500 years ago, when they started going to face the sea to discover another countries, and they would have this feeling of belonging. And also it was like mixed with the possibility that you would not meet that person again ever, because it was very real that they most probably would die. So they came up with this word for that feeling, which is saudade, which is a way of saying I miss you.
But it goes beyond. It's
Goes
like,
beyond because
I
of-
amaze you and I'm
because
afraid
of
of
all
not
that.
ever seeing
Yes.
you again, which is like a little bit dark, but
Yeah.
it's good. That's amazing, yeah.
That's a beautiful way to show that you're growing even sense of understanding and new ideas just by being able to put a word on it. And I wanted to go back to this sign, basically, how translating Japanese anime, you would see that the impact, but also the focus of people doing those is very different than from the West, when they would say, like, you need to understand exactly what this character is feeling. And because I'm not going to draw it, because the drawing itself is very simple, like big eyes and stuff, this is where suddenly I'm slapping, almost a sticker that says like embarrassment, or, there's like a bird flying in the back when there's an awkward silence, things like that. Or the character becomes suddenly like a chibi version of the same character, and then the next panel, they go back to normal. So when this came in, it was unbelievable for many comic artists from the 90s, especially, I come from France, so growing from French and Belgium, when everything was to be like very fine, realistic, Metabaron, I don't know if that's familiar, but Jodorowsky, anyway, they were like very high level just of execution, of skill. And suddenly you say, no, you can make comics completely differently. You can just like make a sticker that says, we're feeling this, and it's allowed, it's legal. And so you have this new generation that now, this has been absorbed, and then you can come and make those comics. But I find it very interesting that you say do you still do to this day those commission, right? We can send you a photo, so you can go on his website, you can send a photo, there's like a price and very quick delivery. I saw 7 days, I'm very impressed. And for you, it's kind of a practice ground. You're like, because every time people will send you different photos, most likely of different qualities. Sometimes you get lucky and you have good light setting. Sometimes just like indoor quick snapshot, and you have to make an image out of it. So it's very interesting practice.
I actually started doing the portraits for free at the beginning. Mm-hmm. I was just like, okay, I'll do a portrait weekly and just give it away to a person. I would just choose a photo from a person and just send it to them, or just give it away. But like nowadays, like I can't continue doing that. But so I just like do it as work, so I can continue doing the comics and working on my books and stuff.
Yeah, that's actually very nice, because since you did that for free, I remember that at the beginning when I started trying to sell my art, it's super hard to try to understand the price, to get to that point of communication with people where, okay, this is the price that you can sell, people can pay, and you can go through these prices. No, it's super hard to understand. And at the beginning, what I came up with was, okay, so I would spend, as you know, my drawings, I spend a lot of time. So I would say to people, look, I know that you cannot see the work that is here, so you have to pay $50. And when you get the drawing, you pay me as much as you think it values, and you can.
Like a tip or something.
Yeah, like a tip, but a tip that is, that person would have to see economical, and also the value of the art. And then people start giving me a certain value, and I said, okay, so this is the price that people are able to pay in a way that is healthy for them too, and healthy for me. And it started from there.
That's a smart way to like do like a study of your own
to study
audience.
how it goes, because it's really difficult for people starting, okay, what's the value of this? It's really, really difficult.
This topic brings again the feedback round and loops between your audience. We were talking about that on Friday. Sending something into the world, which is internet, which is a version of the world, I would say, and then you get feedback. How much, at this point, for example, for you, how much is it that, for example, you will be influenced by something that someone wrote? Do you have time to read like all the comments? Do you take feedback from anywhere, or?
Yeah, I like to. I guess I got to a point where I can understand that everyone has an opinion, and sometimes it can be negative, but I don't take it personally, really. When I get like a negative opinion, it doesn't matter if there's like pretty much saying it like with insults or whatever, you know. Like if you really think, if you see it objectively, and you really think, okay, what this person is saying, what this person is saying is actually okay. I accept it is real. Maybe perhaps I shouldn't be making jokes about something or whatever, you know. Like as long as you're okay with that and you see it objectively, and you agree with them. Like that's one way I usually interact with them. They don't know. I don't like. You know, like I'm not gonna say, okay, you're right. I'm not gonna be doing this anymore.
Answering each message. I am sorry.
I think the question that maybe you're asking yourself in that moment is, can I learn something from this experience? And if you can't learn anything, then you let it go. It doesn't ring a bell, so it's not mine. But if you can learn, fantastic.
Yeah, for example, like the other day I did a comic and it was like a hamster and he was saving a lot of food on his cheek, you know, like they do. And someone messaged me really pissed. It was like, you are making fun of people, like overweight people. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a thought and get back to you, I guess. But I didn't feel it was like that, you know? Because I actually looked at it objectively. I was like, okay, it's a hamster and it's saving food on his cheeks. So at the moment it didn't make sense for me. So I just left it like that.
Yeah, it was a projection. It happens. It's normal. It happens to all of us.
Thinking of feedback, the last time I really wish Valerie was with us, but I think all of you are really concerned with giving voice to kindness. So that's something that we see and that really connects you. The case for kindness in probably a rather dark world, and I think much of the darkness is kind of self-made through people, like overstaying on internet or things like that. Like there is case for real problems in the world, and then there is how people interact with each other on internet. And you are here throwing day after day, you know, just, it's not, doesn't have to be some sort of empty messaging, but it's always like, hey, like, take a breath, showing that everything can be just cute, but also, I know that sometimes you have made some work, environmental, how would you say, like charity work, but there is also the case of just what kind of message, how do you make the world a better place, basically, through what you're posting?
I think that if you're really trying to make your own world a better place, and then that is what you have to give. It's not like I'm not here only trying to make others feel well. I'm trying to make myself feel well. And because I'm in that process, that's the only thing I have to share.
And you're in that world.
Yeah, I agree with that because when I do comics that are like given a message of try to enjoy life more or whatever, they actually start as reminders for myself. So it's like I just feel like if I work on that idea, it'll stick in my brain more because I'll be working on it and thinking about it, and then I'll be more like, okay, I shouldn't be working that much, and I'm actually working on this. But
And you had one line that I mentioned again on Friday, and I will say it again because it's a very beautiful line from one of your interview, which was, I do it because it is good for me. And the second part was, if someone else finds pleasure in it, then I'm twice happier. But the first one is for me. And Valerie had a comic very recent one that she posted that really touched me, because there was someone saying, like the comic had someone saying, hey, why do you still have plushes like it's for babies or it's for kids? And her answer is, it makes me happy. Like, it really touched me because on a personal level, you know, I have kids myself, which are here. And I do hear sometimes someone else that might say like, hey, why there's still plushes at home? And I'm like, because we enjoy them. Like, should we not enjoy something that is the most harmless? Like, there is a person and there's something that makes them happy. Who are you from the outside to say that shouldn't be happening, like right now? You should not be happy. and finding solace in those, I would say, earlier moments. You know, continuing with Valerie's comic, the next one was like, hey, why you still listen to this stupid music from your teenage years? And the answer is always the same, because it makes me happy. Like, is there still anyone in 2025 out there saying, oh, you can't listen to that band, it's not a cool band? Or like, I think the case that you put day after day is more than important. I think it's essential to remind people, like, hey, outside of the internet and the trends and this kind of exaggerated trends also that will they even matter next week if you listen to this or that? Like, remember to first do things for yourself. And if you want plushes and if you want to listen to your teenage emo stuff, like, who cares? Does it make you happy? Yeah, I want to finish that and probably leave it to you if you have any comment on that, and then let the audience speak for you.
I just think that we are all living through a very complicated phase. Everything is very new. We are all like babies, trying to understand how to deal with so much information, because this is really new.
And we shouldn't be dealing with this, right? This is not like how the brain makes.
Yeah, and we have to slowly start to find our ways to have a healthy relationship with the world as it is right now. So maybe we can all, little by little, understand a better way to be in this world.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna ruin your strong message with whatever random thing comes to my mind, because that was really good. So I agree with you guys, yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much, Andrés, Luis. I would like to leave the last few minutes for a few questions if we have. We have a microphone right in the middle, so please stand there and...
Oh, hey. I saw you the other
Hey again.
Oh, the mortifying ordeal of being recognized. This is terrible. Thank you. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Since this is about art style mostly, I wanted to ask if you ever feel limited while drawing by your own sort of more simple art style. Is there ever an idea that you want to draw and you feel like, oh, this doesn't really work because of sort of the limitations of my art style?
I don't put myself too many limitations. I guess like one limitation I put myself to, I try to make it as a challenge, is just not going beyond 4 panels. So it's like it continues having that square shape, but that's pretty much one of them that I can think of right now.
The way I think about limitations is sometimes they are there for a good reason, and you shouldn't step out because you still have a lot of place to explore inside those limits. And when you finally explore that whole space, then you can go to the next level of limitations, because you will always find limitations.
What's the hardest thing for you to draw and simplify, in your opinion?
So can you repeat? Sorry?
What's the hardest thing for you to draw and simplify?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know. Can the answer be I don't know?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to go teacher mode and say any answers are acceptable. And the last one, previously in previous panels, you said you aim for universal humor in your work. What would you say makes something universal humor, and do your own cultural background sometimes pose a challenge for it?
You were really thinking of these questions,
Yeah.
right?
I always think,
I
I'm
have
sorry.
an answer. To be universal, it has to be really, really, really human. For example, if you talk about poop, everyone will get it.
In my case, like the ideas I like the most are the ones that don't have any words, which are the more complicated ones. And they usually, when I really do get one of those ideas, it's just like, I notice that a lot of people like it. And it's not because it's better, but it's because like more people get it, understand it. So it connects with them.
Also, sometimes going in a different direction, but kind of still answering to you, I think, is
P as well.
sometimes you have to let yourself go out of that. Like in the sense that, okay, I have this idea, it will not resonate with everyone, but I really want it to be out there so it can resonate with those that will understand it, and because this might help someone, because it really helped myself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just adding to this, just adding to this is sometimes the narrower you get, the more impact you might make, because someone that feels invisible might say, oh my God, that experience they've experienced.
Yeah. Sometimes I know that I won't have as much likes or shares. I know that. I know, okay, this idea will talk just to a few, but I really want them to listen.
Exactly. Very, very important. Sorry, please.
My question is, just historically, any type of self-expression was used as a device to share ideologies and political views, and especially illustrations, and the way we draw characters, the way they talk. And my question would be, can art be inherently non-political? Or can you always just take those two things apart? Or is it always going to convey something intentionally or not intentionally?
Can I answer first? Yeah. I intentionally try to make my art not political because I want it to be a place of connection and not separation. And since politics right now are a place of separation, I try to make people connect in a way that they can agree in simple feelings, so that maybe they can later think about politics in another way, me, myself also, without being divided as we are right now.
I guess I'm Switzerland for comics or something. I try to be neutral and include everyone. Yeah.
I want to add that actually it is a political decision, a stance to make that. Sure. I would argue that all art is political, because just we need to remember that politics just means how we live together, how we arrange society. And so when you are making a political stance to say, I want to reach people where they all connect, that's already one. Thank you.
I know.
Definitely, yeah, I agree with that. Not taking a stance is also taking a stance.
Yeah, but in a very specific way, which is I want people to connect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we have time for one more question.
Anyone?
No. Yes.
Hello. When you create stories, do you try to architect the whole story and then try to draw it, or do you create the characters, put them into a situation, and try to improvise?
I guess that was for me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I don't have like a really exact formula. Sometimes it can get like, I can get the idea right away, like for a joke, for example, and then I have to figure out the story. Sometimes I have a story, I don't have a joke, or it can be like really like an infinite combination of things. But I don't really start with anything in particular aside from just selecting something. As I mentioned, like I just choose an animal or whatever, and then I just let it flow, I guess.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I will take the last question, and after that I will let everyone join you probably still in your booth, respective booths, which is in the main hall. How many ideas you have in purgatory?
About purgatory?
No, in purgatory, like a list of things that you have to do.
Oh, I have like I have hundreds of ideas. Yeah, because I have like for each year I have a document where
per year.
So I organize everything for like objects and yeah. So I have like that's why I never have a like real mental block, Because if I don't have an idea that day, I'll just go back and pick something and just reread everything. And there's going to be like one of those that I feel, oh, I think this idea is ready. Like, I'm going to be able to use this idea now. And that's one way I can, like, if you read your ideas, because you were mentioning like that you don't like writing your ideas, but in my case,
I write, but I just don't organize them.
okay.
So I lose them if they're not good at the moment, and maybe someday they will come back.
Because I've noticed that in my case, is like the more you read your own ideas constantly, like they get like in your head, you start.
They're maturing.
Yeah, and there's like sometimes they click with another ideas, and that it just goes ways that you didn't even imagine. So it helps me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we can find you at the artist booth,
Can go?
hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.